Chapter 3. The early Wednesday sun rays were beginning to creep their way onto the land. Today, Tahra remembered where she was, unlike the first morning there. She knew that since her shelter was built, she could spend all day looking for a way home, and hopefully she would be successful. She grabbed an apple from her basket, the reddest one she could find. Quickly she ate it to give her energy, but she pretended it was a potion to protect her from the monsters lurking around. Next, she tossed 2 apples in her pocket for later, in case the potion ran out. Tahra knew she could leave her basket out and no animal would eat the apples, since no creatures lived there. She also knew which path had the apples on, because on a tree on the start of the path she carved the word apples with an arrow pointing down the trail. Now she was ready to begin her day venturing through the woods as Robin Hood, and her imaginary merry men accompanying her. During that time, Beth sat at the kitchen table, staring into space, lost in thoughts. Nick came up behind her and rubbed her shoulder and stole a quick kiss on her cheek. "What's going on?" he asked. She informed, "The police should have called us by now and told us something, anything. They haven't even been searching the mountains, or else we would have seen the vehicles on the trails, but there are none. They haven't even called to ask more questions about Tahra and the day she disappeared. I told you they would forget about her. I'm going to call them again." "All right, honey. Well, I need to be off to work, unfortunately. Best of luck. I'll see you later." He kissed her cheek again and headed out. Beth dialed the station and waited as it rang and rang and rang. Finally, someone picked up and answered, "Officer Abby Morris. How may I serve you?" "Is the Assistant Chief Officer, I believe, Christina, there?" "No, she and Chief Marietta are out on a case. Can I take a message, or is there anything I can do for you?" She sighed. "No, I will try again later. Thank you, though." She hung up and slumped down against the kitchen cabinets. A few tears escaped, and she didn't bother fighting them. "Protect her, Ava. Protect her," she cried. Meanwhile, Nick entered the filming studio. "Good morning, Nick," greeted Jason as Nick entered the studio. Filled with energy, Jason asked, "Did you find your daughter yesterday?" With a sigh, Nick replied, "Not yet, but I will be able to work today. After all, I wouldn't want the studio to lose money or have to fall behind in the making of the film because of me not being present." Jason nodded, glad to hear they could move along in the movie. Nick knew he had to keep working his job, although he wished he could keep searching for Tahra more than anything. At the school, Kate's teacher noticed that Kate wasn't paying much attention when normally she sits on the edge of her seat. She was slouched in her chair instead of sitting up tall with the widest smile on her face, ready to learn. On top of that, she looked as if she could fall asleep any second. Her teacher, Miss Sarah, approached Kate and asked her, "What's the matter?" Kate told her the story, how she checked everywhere but still could not find Tahra. With sad eyes, she gazed into Miss Sarah's green and blue mixed eyes and observed her adjust her dirty blonde hair, and saw it fall down behind her back. As Kate saw her, Miss Sarah is a very kind, helpful, and caring kind of person. However, she also was on the shyer side, but always understanding. To Kate, she was in a way as delicate as a flower. She knew Miss Sarah, of all people, would know what to say and trusted her with the whole situation. Miss Sarah was dumbfounded by the news and felt the pain Kate and her parents must be feeling. Miss Sarah promised Kate, "I'll help you look after school for her." She could tell Kate was feeling better then. Kate held on to that promise, knowing how much others took in care to bring her sister home safe and sound. A little later, in the lunchroom, Liliana and Charmaine sat talking to each other. Charmaine commented, "Lunch isn't the same without Tahra to talk to. I mean, I love your company, Liliana, but—" "I know what you mean. I was hoping Tahra would have been back at school today," mumbled Liliana, disappointed. "Me too. I guess she must really be sick," agreed Charmaine. "But Tahra seemed perfectly fine on Monday." "True. I wonder what happened. Oh well, I know she'll be back tomorrow," Charmaine concluded, shrugging it off. "Maybe after school we should call her house and see if she is all right." "That may not be a great idea. If she is sick and she may be resting, I wouldn't want to disturb her rest. She needs time to get better." "You make a very good point." It was a wonder how the two friends had not heard nor seen the posters all over the town stating that their dear friend was not sick, but missing. Just down the hall in the faculty room, Miss Sarah sat in the corner crying and trying her hardest to hide it. However, she was in plain sight. The others chose to ignore, but Mrs. Melody, her dear friend, had to say something. Gently she laid her hand on her friend's back and startled her. Then she knelt down and whispered, "What's the matter?" Miss Sarah leaned over and hugged Mrs. Melody tight. "I'm so sorry," she claimed. "For what?" "You must be concerned with Tahra missing." "What are you talking about? Tahra is sick. She should be back soon." "No, Kate told me she is missing. I'm so worried about her. You know she's like a daughter to me, and it's tearing Kate to pieces." "That's horrible." "I know. I offered to help look. It's the least I could do. I'm just so worried, though." "It's going to be all right. Tahra is strong. It's odd Beth didn't mention this to me, though. All I got was a brief email declaring Tahra would be absent for a day or two with no explanation. Beth is going to find her. Everything will be fine. Please, Miss Sarah, stop crying. You need to pull yourself together. Remember, you have to put on a smile and be the strength for Kate. She will need you to promise her it will all work out. Can you do that without crying and worrying?" "Yes, I will do my best." "Good. Now get up before you don't eat lunch today." Mrs. Melody held out her hand and Miss Sarah hesitated but finally took it and stood up. Across town, Beth arrived at the police station in hopes of getting answers or a promise of a search. As she walked in the entrance, she saw a lady with flame hair walk off and go into one of the first rooms and close the door. Then she turned to the one sitting at the front desk and forced a smile. There she noticed a little plaque with the lady's title. Fortunately, it was Christina as she had hoped. Before the assistant chief could say anything, the worried mother introduced, "I'm Beth. I called the other day about my missing daughter. I haven't heard anything and we haven't found her yet. Have you sent units out? The Smoky Mountains need to be scoured to find my baby girl. Please, I can't have anything happen to her." Christina hid her expression as she realized she had completely forgotten about the missing girl. She informed, "I promised we would handle it, and we are." "Do you need any more information?" "No, we have all the key points on the poster, which we really appreciate. It saves us a lot of time. Don't worry, we will find her." Beth sighed and left the police station. Christina glanced up and saw the one officer walking about. "Abby!" She stopped and went to the desk. Christina slid the flyer across the desk to the officer. "I am tasking you to find this girl. Her mother believes she is in the woods someplace, so I recommend you search there. The mountains are vast. She could be anywhere. I will inform Marietta at once and have her prepare units to search every inch." "No, listen. You see how weak she's been these last few days after her shoulder got cut that deep. It's bad enough she won't take a break to recover. You know she will let any case consume her and tear her apart if it turns out to be a struggle. If you burden her with this girl, she will search day and night until she is practically falling apart." The mother said her daughter never expressed any troubles at home, so running away likely isn't the case, nor a kidnapping because there's no one around. Most likely her daughter wandered off and got lost in the mountain trails. I'm assuming her family is searching nearest to their home, so I want you to go out further and begin looking around Camp Firefly. I believe in you and think you can handle this on your own." Abby nodded and set off immediately. At the Sia paper, it was a little past midday, and Tara was not even found a place that could possibly lead her home. On the next trail Tara walked down, she found a few blueberry bushes. "Finally, I will have something other than apples to eat," she thought to herself with a smile. She pulled out a few branches and ate them. They tasted so good. When she got to the end of the trail, she carved the word blueberries in a tree with an arrow, like she did for the apples. But this arrow, she made it look like one of Robin Hood's. Tara wasn't sure how many paths she did not go down yet, but she didn't think she had many left. She paused for a moment to remind herself Robin Hood would not even come close to losing hope, and she couldn't either. Besides, if she did come to an end of all the paths, surely that meant she overlooked the portal home and would get to re-examine the island. Back in Glowing Springs, the school bell rang, symbolizing that it was time to go home. Miss Sarah walked up to Kate. "I'll meet you at your house in an hour, if that's all right with you." Kate nodded and smiled delightfully. Miss Sarah knew where the Strongs lived because her home was a little cottage at the foot of the mountains, and not many people lived upon the grand hills. It wasn't simply because Miss Sarah is kind and helpful that she wanted to help look for Tahra, but Tahra also had Miss Sarah as a teacher, even though it were several years ago. Besides, Miss Sarah cares about each and every one of her students, and with one missing, she feels it is her duty to help bring her home safe. Having no children of her own, students present and students past were her children. Tahra especially, though, was like a daughter to her because during the kindergarten, Beth was often unwell and in the hospital. As a result, Miss Sarah let Tahra stay with her and she took care of the little girl. To this day, she still feels somewhat responsible for Tahra, so it made her want to help even more. Meanwhile, Officer Abby was driving through the town streets beyond Glowing Springs. She saw a little sign that pointed in the direction of Camp Firefly, so she turned onto that road. Carefully, she followed the signs until she came to the small campground. Thinking ahead, she decided to stop in the office and see if any of the staff had any leads on Tahra. She entered and approached the man at the front desk. "Hi, sir. Is there any chance you have seen this girl in this area lately?" she implored, holding up the poster. He answered, "Afraid not. No one has been in this area for a few days now, except for our current camper. We have a few more guests checking in next week and into the weekends following. I'll give Glowing Springs Police Station a call if I see the little girl in this area, I promise. I was tasked to search the trails in this area. Do you happen to have a trail map?" "Of course I do." He pulled out a pamphlet and handed it to the officer. "Thank you. My pleasure." Abby left and then went outside. She unfolded the map and studied it for several moments, trying to figure out where she would start. At that moment, Kate got home and went upstairs to her room. She changed into clothing that would be all right to get dirty, unlike her good school clothing. After Kate was changed, she took out a small piece of scrap paper. She wrote a note telling her parents she was going to look for Tahra. Kate then walked outside and saw Miss Sarah coming up the path on her bike. "Where should we look first?" inquired Miss Sarah, approaching. In response, Kate reported, "Well, I think we should check all over the mountains. We can ride the horses. I'll ride mine, and you can ride Tahra's crystal. It'll give her exercise while Tahra is missing." Miss Sarah agreed, thankful they would not search the mountains on foot, although she did have her bike. Meanwhile, Tahra was getting hungry and already ate the 2 apples she had brought with her. She went to a nearby patch of high, thick grass and once more used her rock to cut the blades of grass at the bottom. With a pile of grass by her side, she made another basket, but a smaller one. In case she would need more baskets, Tahra made 2 spare ones. The first one she made she filled with blueberries. She filled the second one halfway with blueberries, too, for she knew Robin Hood would be able to snack on them as she walked. Then she stood up and swung the basket onto her arms. With her energy restored, she began skipping about the paths while humming a joyful tune. A grin was upon her face, and she was having a blast. She was simply trying to make the best of the situation, even though Tahra really missed home. Back on the Smoky Mountains, Kate held a map of the mountains in her hand. With a yellow highlighter, she traced the path her and Miss Sarah were just exiting. Kate knew the mountains well from being up and down every trail a million times, but she knew Miss Sarah didn't. She had insisted Kate bring it with, because it made her feel better. Plus, it made sense to mark where they searched, so that they would not waste time repeating what already had been done. "Do you think we'll find Tahra today?" implored Miss Sarah with determination. Unfortunately, Kate did not think they would find her today, but believed they would find some type of clue as to where she vanished to. More than anything, she wished they would find Tahra today, but she didn't want to be overconfident and then shatter from failing again. "Maybe we should split up," suggested Miss Sarah. "That's a good idea, but you do not know your way around these mountains like I do," replied Kate. Then an idea popped into her mind. "Tomorrow, if you'd like to help look for Tahra again, I can give you a map of the mountains and have it highlighted where we already searched," Kate declared to Miss Sarah, gaining a little more confidence. Miss Sarah thought that was a wonderful idea, and it would cover more ground far quicker. Too bad they hadn't thought of it sooner, or else more area could have been investigated. As they rode along, they carefully inspected the path ahead of them, looking for any footprints Tahra may have left in the dirt. They listened closely for any sounds that could be Tahra, but only the rustling of leaves by birds or other forest creatures were the only sounds. They only hoped Tahra had not gotten hurt in any way. While this was happening, Daniel, Mrs. Melody's husband, returned home from work. He entered and was shocked to see the lights off. "Melody?" he called. "Are you here?" She didn't answer, so he proceeded to turn the light on and set his bag down. He knew some days she chose to dawdle longer at school or visit a friend before coming home, so he wasn't worried. It wasn't like she drove either, so there was no way to tell for sure she wasn't there. She could drive and had a car, but most days she didn't prefer that mode of transportation and saved it for other errands. He climbed the stairs to see if she was in their room by chance. However, as she reached their room, he noticed a door, usually shut, was open. He sighed. Sure enough, there was his wife sitting on a rocking chair in a room that looked like a nursery. It had a crib, yellow flowered walls, and a rocking chair. The teacher sat there gazing out the window. She knew he was there, but just as she hadn't bothered turning on the lights of the dim room, she didn't bother look or to speak to him. "Honey, what's wrong?" he inquired. She quaked as she tried to hide the sound of her tears. "What makes you think something is wrong?" "You only come in here when you are troubled. You always keep the nursery door shut to avoid the sadness, but on days you feel down, you come here to feel the pain this room causes. I don't know why you torture yourself like this. Because I deserve it." "Oh, so today is about this," he said, gesturing around the room. "No, one of my students is missing and I'm really worried. I always believed she had magic, and if that's the case, then what if the witch wants something with her? What if the witch kidnapped her or cursed her? Then Beth, her poor mother, and her father would be left in the misery I've known for so long that no one deserves." "Honey, you are overreacting. Maybe you are wrong and your student doesn't have magic. You could always talk to Queen Stella. She could help you with that. Besides, what would the witch want with your student anyway? I don't know. Anyway, let's focus on getting dinner ready. You head down and I'll be down in a few minutes to help." "All right, but first let me ask, what else is bothering you? Are you willing to talk about it yet?" "Why do you think there's something else? I saw you and felt you these last several nights. For the past week, slip away in bed. I'd hear you go in the nursery and cry for a while. I didn't come to comfort you because I knew you were trying to avoid me knowing. It's been years since you sat there consecutively. You don't want to know. I do, so then I can help you, my darling." He sighed and ran his fingers through her silky hair. "If I say it out loud, then it would mean it's real, and I don't want to acknowledge the fact that it is." Her husband didn't answer and gazed at her with eyes, insisting he was willing to listen. "I'm with child. I found out last week." He sucked in a breath and with his 2 hands covered his mouth. Then he walked over to the window and sat down on the bench seat cushion. He looked out the yard for a moment and then glanced at his wife. "What does this mean?" he dared to question. Trembling with more tears flowing, Mrs. Melody answered, "One of 2 things. It could mean the witch returns and curses this child and causes us more agony, and we relive the past. It could also mean the witch leaves us alone, but then this child gets everything I wanted for Cadence, and it would feel like I replaced her. Regardless, Cadence cannot know of this child ever, and neither can my parents because they will tell Cadence." "They will never know," he vowed. "Who are you willing to let know?" "Miss Sarah." "Of course, she is your best friend. And you can tell your parents, but that is it, just the 5 of us." Daniel nodded and wrapped his arm around his wife. He kissed her forehead and held her for a long while. Back at the Sia paper, the day was coming closer to an end. Tahra finished the path she was on and went to the trail with the stream and the apples on it. Robin Hood's adventure was going well so far, but every now and then needed a break too. Once she got to the stream, she got a long, refreshing drink. Then she put her legs in the water to rinse the dirt off of them that had gathered from walking the dusty paths. She splashed the clear water on her legs and rubbed at the dust until her skin started to shimmer through. After that, she went to her stick shelter, which was starting to feel more like Robin Hood's camp in the forest, although a ton smaller, she imagined. Today the sunset was even more marvelous than yesterday's. She wished she could take a picture of it, but of course she couldn't. If she could have, she would have added it to her nature scrapbook, in which she documented the most spectacular scenes of nature. Of course, most of the images were sunsets of the mountains or of water willow. Scrapbooking was a tradition passed down in her family. It was the family's way of telling stories of the events they had witnessed. In the Strong House, there was an entire corner dedicated to scrapbooks for all to view. Thinking back on that cozy corner made Tahra forget about being Robin Hood. Instead, it made her think of how much she missed her friends and family. She only hoped she would find her way home soon to be back with them. That night in Glowing Springs, Miss Sarah had trouble sleeping. Her mind was racing and trying to figure out where Tahra could possibly be. Constantly she tossed and turned as terrifying thoughts tried so hard to invade her mind. It had been a long time since she had struggled with sleeping. When she was a child, her mother, who she loved, bailed on their entire family. Her father never reacted well to it and kept the 4 children far away from the woman that destroyed their lives. After that horrible event had occurred, and having overheard the entire situation between her parents, Miss Sarah struggled with falling asleep at night. As a result, her father took her to the doctors to get her help. Thankfully, they are able to get the child resting peacefully again. Presently, not being able to sleep brought back all those awful flashbacks. To this day, the action of her mother still pains her, especially since that fateful day. Her mother made no effort to contact them. Looking at the clock and figuring out the time on the other side of the world, she decided to call her dear sister, who was in another country at the time. Luckily, she answered, and in tears Miss Sarah talked about all of her worries and how the past still plagued her mind. That night, she only managed 2.5 hours of sleep, especially since she spent a while talking on the phone to her dearest sister. First thing in the morning, Tara ate an apple and went directly to the stream. Today was a little warmer than any other day this week so far, so it was a good time to fully wash off. Tara jumped into the stream with hardly a second of hesitation. She splashed around for a little while, as she wondered if Robin Hood did the same. Either way, she did not care. She was having too much fun. When she got out of the stream, Tara wrung out her hair and clothing. Then she headed up the path. While on that path, she picked 2 more apples and put them in her pocket of her light sweatshirt. She ran her fingers along the white letters on the navy blue sweatshirt. She had gotten it when she and a group of students in her 7th grade class ranked in the top 9 average for math and science. The 9 students took a trip to North Carolina for a week. On the trip, they explored many things, some for fun and some school-related. They enjoyed a hike in the woods and got to see the beautiful view overlook from the highest spot known as the summit. On this trip, they had also went to a local university focused on math and science, which is where she got the sweatshirt from. She had learned a lot on that trip, and it was amazing. Tara loved every second of it. The sweater has become a representative of that memory, and it is her favorite hoodie to wear. Back at the house, like before, Beth woke up Kate for school. Kate could tell that today was going to be hot simply by the temperature in her room, so she decided that she would wear her white flower skirt to keep her cool. Then Kate brushed her frizzy hair to bring it back under control. To keep it maintained for the entire day, she put it up in a medium ponytail, and also to keep it off her neck and out of her way. As she strapped on her backpack, she heard a screeching outside and glanced up to see the bus pulling up. Alarmed, she flew out the door, running before Kelly would assume she was not going to school that day. Once in her seat, she allowed herself to breathe out. She hated mornings when she would barely make it out on time. Beth could drive Kate if she ever missed a bus, but then it pushed time that she could be late, for the high school started 10 minutes sooner. It was that way, so students had enough time to get off their buses and the buses to go across the street to the middle school/elementary. Meanwhile, at the Sea of Paper, Tara had been going up and down path after path for at least 1 hour so far today, taking her time and enjoying every detail of this odd place. She came out of the one path and got ready to turn down the next, but there was no more. Just more golden sand and the Sea of Paper. Tara was getting a little concerned now. She walked around the whole island perimeter, approximately only a mile in length all the way around, in hope she had missed a path and there was still a way for her to get back. Every path around the outside border, each tree had an X engraved in it. "I guess I was wrong and I didn't miss a path," whimpered Tara disappointedly. "There is no way home. What am I going to do?" exclaimed Tara in panic.